This is Narelle Graham on ABC Radio South Australia and Broken Hill.
It is 18 minutes to 5. There's calls on the state government to do better, implement better measures to mitigate shark attacks. We're heading into summer and Sharkwatch SA is making this call. They've put together a timeline showing where clusters of shark attacks have been happening here in South Australia since 2023 through to now. And they say that as the weather warms up, we are still behind the other states when it comes to preventing future attacks. Anton Covino is the founder of Sharkwatch SA. Anton, good afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Narelle.
I appreciate you being able to speak to us this afternoon. Tell us a bit about your work into looking at where these clusters of shark attacks have happened. Where have been the main areas?
Main areas have been on the Eyre Peninsula, Elliston and Streaky Bay, particularly the Granite Surf Break and also at Black Surf Break at Elliston. Just in that span of 150 Ks, there's been a handful of shark attacks, and majority of those have been fatal over the past 2 or so years.
And strong calls over the past few years from the Eyre Peninsula community saying, yes, we need some assistance, and they have developed a shark strategy and have wanted some assistance from governments to be able to do that. You say that as we head into summer, there's a need for 6 mitigation strategies. What are they?
Well, I would say there's 6 mitigation strategies to choose from that are far more effective than what's currently being implemented by the state government. At this point in time, look, this is not to have a dig at the state government necessarily, because they could be genuinely underfunded and under-resourced in their capacity to be able to tend to the situation. The situation in SA is quite volatile. We need to remember that the state is quite expansive. We've got a broad scope of coastal and offshore waters to cover. So there's differing circumstances with a lot of these attacks and a lot of variables that they have to consider when going into these strategies. But it more so covers technology, and just more so using the technology that's available today, such as obviously social media, using that as a landscape to be able to inform people. We were calling on the state government to actually use our platform. They're well aware that the Sharkwatch platform is at their disposal to actually inform swimmers of real-time shark alerts. And we would like a bit more cooperation to actually be able to amalgamate with them. On another front, drone technology, being able to be more transparent to the public as to what's going on with the drone program is going to be huge in getting something substantial around the state in terms of a better patrolling method than what's currently being implemented along Adelaide's metropolitan coastline, right down to the south coast, where we have the spotter plane, the fixed-wing spotter plane. This method, it is somewhat outdated. Considering we have advanced technology like drones, which is far more cost-effective, easier to fly, and covers a larger scale of water for a larger quantity of time, it's disappointing that we're seeing a bit more of a delay in terms of getting something organised for the coming summer.
Yeah, Anton Covino is on your radio, founding director of Sharkwatch SA. So when it comes to the information on Sharkwatch, where do you get that from? If you haven't had a lot of assistance from government agencies, where is it coming from usually?
So about 90 to 100% of all of our reports is coming from the broad 100,000 odd followers that are on the Sharkwatch platforms. These are members of the public all over the state. Boaters, surfers, people from all different parts of South Australia are contributing to this real-time shark response. So that's where we're getting the majority of our sighting information at this point in time.
Are there drones in operation on the Eyre Peninsula at all, Anton?
I'm not entirely sure with what
I know there is a push for more monitoring of the waters, and then people will have the information, and then if they can then make a decision as to whether or not they enter the water to surf. I know you'd also like to see trauma kits rolled out to respond to shark attacks. What are you talking about with that? What's involved in that?
So I know that the state government has recently been proactive with the trauma kit rollout, which is good to see. That basically involves a first aid kit that has the ability to provide the necessary equipment in order to stem bleeding temporarily while those victims are being rushed to hospital in the event of a shark attack. So these are going to be extremely, would be more beneficial in places that are more remote, obviously on the Eyre Peninsula, and where there's not immediate response available in comparison to places like the Adelaide Metropolitan Coastline, where you have, obviously emergency services patrolling around, and they're quickly available to attend the scene immediately.
So assistance is closer by, certainly in metropolitan areas. I think Emma Pedler, I'm pretty sure it was my colleague Emma Pedler from Port Lincoln who was talking about first aid training to deal with shark bite being rolled out in the Eyre Peninsula. But I think, and you're saying in addition, trauma kits. I know you met with the state government back in June. Have they implemented anything since then to try and mitigate shark attacks?
I'm not entirely sure, and this is why it's frustrating, because I do represent a platform with 100,000 people who are actively looking for, not only timely alerts, but some progress from the state government. And so what I do know is that the fixed-wing patrol system that was in place in previous years, or has been in place for the past decade or so, that routine patrol is now up and running again, and it would have been good to actually have that information coordinated to myself, because there are different conflicts of interest that arise from our operations independently that I do encounter during the patrol season.
Another idea that comes up, Anton, is about tagging sharks and then and then having receivers around the coast, so that if a shark that has been tagged is nearby, it would ping and then people would know. Is that something you've looked into?
Yeah, absolutely. So in New South Wales and in Queensland and also in WA, they have what is known as smart drum lines deployed. So what this actually does is that when there's a shark that's captured on these drum lines, there's a response team that goes out, tags these sharks with acoustic telemetry tracking devices, and from there, with a satellite tag involved, when they roam up and down metropolitan beaches along, whether it be Queensland, New South Wales, WA coastlines, it pings an alert straight to an app on your phone. So this is something that we would like to see implemented in South Australia. We believe, South Australia, premier tourist destination for white shark cage diving, also known white shark aggregation site. There's absolutely no reason why we should be behind other states when it comes to rolling out these types of measures, especially with the clusters of attacks that have happened in times past. The empirical data suggests that these sharks displayed some form of site fidelity or residency for a brief period prior to these attacks happening. If these alerts are sent out in a timely way on an online platform, along with these acoustic satellite tags, it does have the preventative ability.
What is the barrier to having that sort of technology put in South Australia?
I'm not in that sort of government spectrum to be able to answer the question, but I do understand that it is costly, and look, there are some ethical challenges behind it. And I just want to mention as well that there can be the risk that just because you're seeing certain sharks popping up that are being tagged, it doesn't necessarily mean that there are other sharks that haven't been tagged that are in the area at the immediate time. So there's several contrasting factors we need to consider also, or the state government rather has to consider.
Anton, thanks for raising the issue. Appreciate it. Anton Covino there, founding director of Shark Watch in South Australia.